Steven Milhausen here, and we did it once. We did. Scott, he was kind enough to reach out, and he wanted some more. So definitely good to get him back on the line. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling returns this coming weekend out in Windsor, Ontario, as we're on the road to Northern Lights with MLP Mayhem. He's the owner, CEO, the chairman, who runs the ship, the great Scott D'Amore. And before we even started, you were telling me, I asked how you were doing. I already knew just this crazy world of combat sports for 14 years. Fight week, wrestling week, big card week chaos is kind of at the top of the bill for you, Mr. D'Amore.
Yeah, it's up here in Canada. It's March break or spring break for a lot of people, but it's action, action, action here for us. It's everything from 8 a.m. morning radio to late night interviews. I did one with some folks last night. I think we wrapped up around 12:30 a.m. So it's it's the business we signed up for, and I wouldn't have it
Yeah.
any other way. We get to talk about perform and exist in this business that we all love. So, no complaints out of me.
What's the worst thing about big match card weeks, big
I
events?
mean, look, it's funny because the same thing that's the worst part about it leading in is the biggest reason you love it coming out, which is all the stress and all the things that just pop up, right? I mean, it's travel, it's accommodations, it's production, it's everything and getting all of these moving pieces pushing in the same direction and getting them all coordinated, organized, and cohesive. And that's one of the things that I was most proud about that our team did at in October back at Forged in Excellence when we launched or relaunched, the Maple Leaf brand MLP, and I was just so proud. I thought that the shows we put on were fantastic. I thought that the production, the broadcast quality of the event was. I was just so proud of what we did for a little engine that could for this startup. I was humbled and blessed by the team of pros we had and how they delivered in the ring and everybody associated in the essential crew and staff and the production team, on camera and behind it. Just knocked it out of the park, and that's why we're back here for MLP Mayhem this coming weekend here in Windsor, Ontario, and live on Triller TV.
You know, you stole part of what I was going to say. That's the great job of a promoter. They always do that. But kind of where I wanted to go was how many times putting the owner chairman hat on. How many times do you rewatch the show just to be like, hey, this was good, this was good. We can work on this, we could tweak this, and bring it on to the next set of shows beginning in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, it's like I'm there for the majority of the show, sitting at go position, which is, right behind the curtain where the wrestlers come out. I'm sitting there for the show. I'm seeing it there. Then I give it at least one rewatch afterwards where I
Okay.
make notes, everything else. And then from there, I mean, there'll be some things that I might go back and rewatch, especially when I'm trying to remind myself of things that we want to address. But for the most part, for me, it's the live event there, sitting there while it's happening. Then it's one, rewatch with a critical eye, going through, making notes, saying, "Hey, we can do this a little better." Oh, well, we wouldn't have this
Yeah.
issue. Like maybe we can address it this way. And a lot of it for me is I don't claim to have all the answers. So I watch the show and I'll go, oh, well, we had something, a little hiccup here, or we had something that didn't seem right there. And then I've got that great, team. I've got 200 years basically of experience that I can go to and say, hey guys, like I noticed this. Did anybody else? Hey, how do we address this? How do we make this better? So that's a great part of the job. It crushes your soul when you do something wrong, but I think
Yeah.
the mistakes that we made at Forged in Excellence were relatively minor, and while they frustrate, they're things that I looked at and like, okay, we can fix this, we can get better. It was our first time out of the gate, so now here we are with round two, and I'm excited for Mayhem.
If you had to give a grade, what grade would you give yourself?
Myself,
Yeah, what would you? Yeah, what grade
uh,
would you give yourself?
on the last events, or
Correct. Yeah.
uh, okay, I'll give the events a 9 out of 10, and I'll give myself a 7. there's a lot of things that I need to improve on and continue to strive to get better with. And I don't say that to be humble because people that know me know I'm
Yeah.
not humble. But having the Keith Mitchell, the Tim Walberts, the Jeff Bornsteins on lighting, the Kevin Sullivans, Jeffrey Scott and the BCW crew that do what they do for now going on 30 plus years here. There's a lot of people that I was really I feel blessed to have around to pick up things that I missed. So there's a lot of things that I want to do better. And for the brand, I think there's improvement. Like I say, I give it a nine. I give it a nine because the wrestling was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Off the hook, we had two great main events. I thought we had great undercards. Like I said, I thought the production was slick. I thought the picture was crisp. But I just think there's still so much room for improvement. Because what was a
Yeah.
nine last time? If you do the same thing again, that nine is a 7 or 7.5. You got to evolve and get better. So that's where I'm excited to look at it and tackle it again, having, the same great crew behind the camera and, and offering some of the same great talent that was here last time, but also some fresh new talent in here to be part of these events.
If you could give, not divulging everything, but if you could name one thing, what one thing would you improve for yourself heading into this weekend?
Uh, I mean, time management would be one. I'd like to improve my time management skills. I'd like to. I'd like to, and I feel like a little better prepared going into these events than to last time. So that's a big thing. I want to be more prepared. I want to be farther ahead of things, and I think we're doing that. And I want to make sure that we get out there and we get everybody on the team involved. And I think one of the things is the times I put my head down with the let's get it done attitude, and sometimes I think we get it done and. But maybe we could get it done a little different, a little better, a little jazzier. If instead of saying, "Hey, let's do this," I was kind of like, "Hey, guys, what can we do here?" Which is one of the things I'm striving to get better at. And I think when you have a great group of people, both the talent themselves, which obviously are all super creative individuals, and then the people behind the scenes, the Jimmy Jacobs, the D'Lo Browns, the production team that I named, and everything. I think one of the biggest things that a guy like me has to do, an individual like me who's at the top of the food chain for MLP, right, is to stay out of the way of success sometimes.
Yeah.
Once you put great people in place, let them take and run with it. And that's something that it took me a long time to learn on the creative process side. Like at Impact of TNA, I had a great creative team there. We had a great creative team. And it took me a while to say, hey, like they've got ideas that aren't mine. They got ideas that aren't things that I would do. But I've got to let them doing because they're here. They were hired. They were part of this because I believe in them and we believe in them. So I think I was able to get out of my way and out of our way creatively. Now I need to do that in other areas too, and that's something I'm always working on it because I'm one of those people. I'm a type A personality. Hey, there it is. We can do this. I can do this. Let's get that done. Let's fix this. Let's do that. Let's shoot that. I think I need to sit back a little bit, evaluate it with a 360 approach, and then go to people. Hey, what do you think? Which and you know what? When somebody says, "Hey, let's do it this way," even if my reaction is I don't know if that's how I do it. I think, you need to balance what you feel in your gut with
Yeah.
remembering that you brought these people in because they're talented and because you like their work. You don't want to micromanage them.
Do you think also? And I just thought this while you were talking, and you said part of it here. Do you think maybe all of, like you said, time management and all the little things? Do you think maybe that had to do with just not being behind, not doing something like that for at that time? It was 9 months. So do you feel like maybe that had something to do with it as well, or is it one of those things where wrestling's like, hey, you know what? I know how to do this. I can do this getting off the couch and go right back into the game.
I guess maybe I don't know how much rusty, but I think one of the things that I realized at the last events is, as much as we always talked about it at Impact at TNA being a small shop and we were low on manpower and we didn't have as many horses as we'd ideally like to get everything done, like everybody
Yeah.
had to wear multiple hats. As small a shop as Impact TNA was. MLP was an upstart. Like there was things that just got done because it's been getting done for 15 years, 20 years, whatever
Yeah.
the time frame you're looking at Impact TNA, because it's been getting done. Now, maybe you want to do it differently, maybe you want to improve on it, maybe you want to scrap it and do it a whole different way. But the
Yeah.
default is if you do nothing, there's something that's going to happen. There's a camera platform that's going to get set up. Cables are going to get ran. Promotion's going to get done for MLP, when we started, one of the early realizations for all of us on the senior team was like we need to make decisions and we need to get things going because things aren't happening automatically. If we don't tell somebody, hey, somebody's got to put the chairs on the floor, the chairs might not get on the floor, right? It's simple stuff that you take for granted. It's making sure that
Yeah.
there's coffee backstage, like whatever it is, like stuff that just automatically happens and you take for granted. You don't have the opportunity to take for granted in an upstart. You need to make sure you have your checklist and you check things off and you cover all your bases.
Have you ever seen that at an event? Not even an event you were running to where you got there and the chairs weren't set up.
Yeah,
I find that humorous.
well, I have, and I use that example not being like that wouldn't happen here because the live events team here was built on, the Border City Wrestling team, which had handled a lot of the live event stuff for Impact in Canada. So like that's, but I've been at a show more than once where people forgot to have chairs.
How does that happen?
I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
since we're not using names, it's just like there's some people that run wrestling that maybe shouldn't run wrestling, right? It comes from a good place, but people are like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I can do this." This is not an easy thing to do. It takes a
No.
lot of work and it takes a lot of people to make things run successfully. So I think sometimes when you're dealing at the indie level, like I've been at indie shows where there wasn't chairs. I've been at indie shows where there wasn't a ring, right? Like I'd like to
Wait.
think that it's because the ring broke down. Yeah, I remember I was pretty young, and it's actually the first time that I met the original Sheik and Abdullah the Butcher, and got to a show, and there was no ring. And guys are just like, well, there's mats on the wall because we were at like a high school gym. They're like, just put the mats down. We're just going to wrestle on the mats. And ultimately, they decided to postpone the show. And we did it. We did it like a month later or whatever. But I just remember Sheik and Abby being like, "Well, you can put the mats down and have the show, or you cannot have the show and schedule it for another day. Either way, you're effing paying us." And the promoter's kind of like, ab. And I
Those are
guarantee Sheik and Abby got paid. Sorry, what's that, Steve? I'm sorry, I think your volume's
did
super
you
low.
did you get
Oh,
paid for the show?
you
By
know
the way.
what? Actually, I have to say, thinking about it, I actually did. I actually did. The promoter paid us, and then when he did and I think this was super honorable. He paid us our full pay, even though we postponed the show. And then when he rebooked the show at a later date, he asked us. He asked us. He didn't tell us. He asked us all if we could help him out a little bit on the price because he was paying us a second time for
Yeah.
selling the tickets in essence once. And I mean, I know I did. And I think a lot of people probably did. And I'm sure there's a few people that said, hell no. Like I showed up the night that there was supposed to be a show. You weren't ready. So I got paid then. And if you want me to come back, you'll pay me again. But to me, I was 20 years old or 21 years old at the most, maybe. And I mean, I was on a show with the original Sheik and Abdullah the Butcher. Like I was happy to show up a second time.
I listened to an interview over the weekend you did with Dave Meltzer, and you were talking about Border City, and I didn't notice, and I've been studying the business and been watching since I was 6 years old. I never knew Dwayne Johnson only collected checks from two companies in his infancy in the world of pro wrestling: the WWE, City Wrestling.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
never, not how does and that you were talking about how and correct me if because I'm paraphrasing. He got injured at a show a
Days
couple days before
before.
your show.
Yeah, at Skydome in Toronto.
He calls you, you guys
Uh,
talk, I'll still come. You get to the show, and then he tells you he wants to wrestle. Wow.
That that's how you know the Rock's the term we use in the business, the Rock's a brother. Because
Wow.
he got that one. Hats off to him because even just coming to the show, there's no question if Rock decided, hey, I'm staying home, screw this, and fly
Yeah.
right into Chicago a couple of days later for the pay-per-view, nobody's saying anything to him. And that's probably the right decision to make business wise. But for him to say, "Hey, I gave my word. I said I was going to be there," and he knew, right? He grew up in a family that promoted wrestling. His
Yeah.
grandfather, his grandmother were in this business. His grandmother famously ran that territory in
Yeah.
Hawaii, and he gets like he understands the business on that level. So it like he it wasn't lost on him that we had 1,000 tickets or whatever it was sold, which was the equivalent of 100,000 tickets to Border City Wrestling at the time for people to come see The Rock. And remember, this is 1990, this is 1998, I think.
Yeah.
There's no cell phones. There's no like the internet exists, but not on any real functional level. If people come to that arena and The Rock's not there, they're going to think we screwed them. So it was
Yeah.
important to him that he showed up and they knew that he was, even if he wasn't going to wrestle, that he was there and they still got to see him, meet him, shake his hand, take a Polaroid. That's what we did back in the day, Polaroids. And then yeah, like I think Rock just got out there with D'Lo and Mark Henry in the pre-show selling, just hawking Polaroids at $10 a piece, and I think he was just having fun, right? Because like all of us get into this business because we love it. He got
Yeah.
out there and he sat me down in the locker room and was just like, Scott, how would you feel if The Rock wrestled tonight? And I was kind of like, I mean, I think that'd be great. I mean, I think maybe he shouldn't, but I mean, he goes, I'm here, I'm feeling it. Rock's here, liking it. The fans are liking it. I think we give him a little something. So, I mean, to me, it was truly awesome. And it just goes to show, I mean, the type of individual and the type of professional that The Rock is, and we had a lot of fun, right? Like we didn't, there was not a lot of violence. Our match, we went out there as myself and another guy, Larry Destiny, against Rock and D'Lo Brown. We set it up as a tag match instead of a singles, and we went out there. The people got to chant along with The Rock. The people got to see the people's elbow and have fun, and to me, that's what wrestling's all about, and that's like I said, it's fun to be the only other person that's ever given a payday in the wrestling business to Dwayne Johnson, and I just think it's great that was here and he did that. And one funny thing, is we were just a small operation. My buddy owns a print shop, like screening T-shirts, so he did two
Yeah.
sets of shirt. The Rock was technically a heel still when he showed up here,
Yeah.
but he was
Yeah.
already The Rock. So we had done two runs of shirt, the old Brian Bosworth, right? You want to sell the shirt to the fan that likes you and the fan that doesn't. So we did shirts that say Rocky, 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 and we did shirts that say Rocky sucks. So because he's so popular, the Rocky, Rocky, Rocky sells out, within, before the show starts.
Mhm.
So we have like a little promo in the ring in like seg 2 or 3, and Rock he's like, "Hey Scott, get Rock one of those shirts. You'll wear it to the ring." And I go, "Oh, thanks, but we sold out of those Rocky shirts." He goes, "You sold all those shirts?" I said, "Yeah, we sold all the Rocky, Rocky, Rocky ones." He goes, "Well, what about the other one?" And I go, "The shirt says Rocky sucks." He goes, "Scott, do you want to sell the shirts or not?" So I hand him a shirt, and if you see a photo of it, you can find it on
Yeah.
the internet. He's wearing a Rocky Sucks shirt because he went out to the ring in the promo wearing the Rocky Sucks, and then at intermission we sold out all those shirts.
Good business.
What a
One final
brother!
qu- one final question about this, just about him
Yeah.
in general. At that time, see what we're getting right now with him, to where he's the biggest movie star in the entire world, probably the most arguably the most famous person in the history of pro wrestling.
Sorry, what was it?
Did you see all that? Did you see the what?
I mean, it didn't have to. You didn't have to be a genius to see he was going to be a megastar. Like at the time, he was IC champ. At the time, he had just thrown Farouk out of the nation and took over kind of as the leader. So you knew this guy was going to be world champion. You knew this guy was going to headline WrestleMania. But I mean, did I know he's going to become arguably the biggest star on the planet? Like, I know. But I mean, I got a firsthand, seat watching some of it because we would go to a restaurant because if like D'Lo and Rocky and that were around, if they were in this area, I might pick them up and in Detroit or whatever, or close by in a town, and pick him up at the airport, drive him around. Maybe I get booked, maybe I don't. And we travel together. We go to the gym together. Like not a lot, just not like I spent years on the road with him, but I mean, we hung out, and it's like we go to a restaurant. Every person in that restaurant wanted to shake the hand, wanted to touch the rock, right? I mean, they wanted their brush with greatness.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of times I was sent in to kind of go to the people at the restaurant and say, hey, like, like I'm gonna have, The Rock coming in here and some of the WWF wrestlers, and can you kind of set up an area where we want to come in, we want to eat, we want to maybe watch a little bit of the football game, and then we're gonna get out of here. But if you can give us that piece to eat, Rock will sign everything you want. He'll post whatever photos you want for you and your staff. And it was just, I think it was still pretty early on in his like fame, but you're already seeing like he just like there's no putting a baseball cap on him and him going out and blending in. He's just too big of an effing star. So
Yeah.
so seeing that at that point, it wasn't shocking to me to see him go on to the success. But I mean, like nobody, I don't know, like maybe somebody did. I was like, oh, like this guy's going to could be the biggest star in wrestling history. But I didn't know he could arguably be the most famous person or biggest star on the planet. No.
Go back to MLP because I love it's not the biggest main event in the world, but I think this main event has got two guys one guy with a point and night one guy with a point to prove in Bishop Dyer. And then you got the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Thomas Latimer. And I love it because it's two guys, big point to prove. You're giving them the platform. And that's what I just find it all so unique how it's not Takeshita and Bailey and everything. This is two guys looking to create more noise. One guy with a point to prove, and another guy just trying to get his name out there more to the masses.
Yeah, look, I think for Latimer, he's Tom's the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and that's the oldest and in some ways most cherished world championship in wrestling. But he gets overlooked a lot, right? So I think there's something in being NWA champion right now that still has that prestige. But I mean, it's like in some ways Tom's not getting his due because their platform isn't the size of the WWE platform.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it frustrates Tom to look and see that that Dyer, the former Baron Corbin, gets more buzz than him. And to your point, Bishop Dyer, Baron Corbin, as he was formerly known, in one of his first, arguably the biggest match since he's left, in one of the first real pro wrestling style matches he's having, is getting a
Yeah.
chance to wrestle for a world championship because Dyer has been a tag team champion. He's been United States champion. He's won King of the Ring. He's done all these things. The one thing he hasn't done is win a world championship. And when you see the content we've put out on social media and that the video packages and that and the words from each of these men, I think you can tell that there's a fire still burning in Bishop Dyer, right? Like this after his time in WWE, there's no reason that he needs to monetarily step into a wrestling ring again and wrestle. This is a guy who's got a little something to prove. This is a guy who played in the NFL, which makes him one of the top less than 1% of the entire, probably one tenth of 1% of those people in that field in football. This is a guy who is a tremendous MMA fighter, right? And this is a guy who is a tremendous pro wrestler. And I think throughout his WWE run, I think there was a lot of people for whatever reasons that like fans and maybe some people in the industry that he just wasn't their cup of tea. And I think that despite his successes, both when it comes to his performances and everything he's done in the ring, and despite his successes financially, he's still got a point to prove. And I think we provide a great platform, to your point, to give a guy like that a chance to come out here and say, hey, I was in that machine. I was part of that machine and I succeeded in that machine because he's been successful, made a ton of money and is a star. But now he's got to show that he can succeed without that. And how many people have we seen leave that WWE machine and then, dwindle or disappear? And then there's other people like Matt Cardona is the perfect example, who was a star in WWE, but is an even bigger star outside of WWE. So I think that Bishop Dyer has that opportunity here in MLP and in his hands that everywhere he's going to go in independent wrestling and show that he wasn't propped up by being in the system, that he can be an even bigger star outside of the machine. And I think that's going to be a pretty cool story to follow both here in MLP and as his career advances.
He's got it, and you just like you said it there. He was given some he was given some horsemen. We're just going to be be honest about it, and he always turned it into chicken salad. Testament to him. That's why I think, like I said, he's got the point to prove, but I think he's going to be more. He's going to be more Matt Cardona than I think that people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's got a burr in his butt, as they would say. You know, he's got a point to prove, and this guy is an elite level athlete. He's an elite level athlete who wants to go out and do this and has a point to prove. So I think that it would be I'd be shocked if he didn't go out there and succeed. Right? I mean, he's got all the athletic skill. All the people that I talked to in WWE, like all the senior individuals around the business that are people that I learned from and whose opinions I respect. I've heard it over and over and over for them about how good he was, like mentally, when he was
Mhm.
there, and that there was some people, some situations where that just wasn't seen or taken advantage of. So this is a guy who I think throughout his run there, I think he was the prototypical example of when we say that there's not a lot of people that are out there. Sometimes there aren't enough heels. This is a guy who wanted to be a heel. He didn't give a damn about being cheered, and that's what used
Yeah,
to drive our business. Dutch Mantel taught me years ago. Our business is built on dragon slayers, right? Our baby faces, our
yeah.
heroes, overcoming all the odds. And Dutch would say, "Hey, one thing that a dragon slayer needs? An MF and dragon." We need some damn dragons.
Not wrong.
So no, so I mean, I think that Bishop Dyer has the opportunity to be a dragon and to be the unstoppable force out there that the Dragon Slayer needs to overcome. And on the flip side, I mean, when the time's right, he probably has a great opportunity to be that Dragon Slayer, big badass dude, elite athlete, and gets the wrestling business. Like this guy's a five-tool player, as we would say in baseball.
I know we're short on time. We got a few more minutes, and I appreciate the time today, Scott. It is greatly appreciated. And the women's tournament is starting. The quarterfinals will be starting, and when will when will a champion be crowned?
Going to be crowned in May,
In May. Okay.
when Northern Rising, when we return to our spiritual home. It's now called the Mattamy Athletic Center, but that building, that yellow brick, that marquee is Maple Leaf Gardens. You pull up in front, and I just did this last week because I went up there to do like the site survey and go through the venue and everything for production. I wasn't paying attention because you know how you are. You're on your phone, you're in the back of the Uber, you're doing whatever. Oh, I'm here. Okay, thank you, sir. You have a great day. Yep, 5-star rating coming your way. I get out of the car and I look, and there's the effing marquee, Maple Leaf Gardens, and it just as like to me, I
Man.
turned back into that 8-year-old boy who showed up there first time for a Toronto Maple Leafs hockey game, and just being in awe. And then I walked in the doors, and I go in there, and the building's very different. The main floor of the building now is a grocery store, but
Oh
then you get
wow.
yeah, because Maple Leaf Gardens was a 17,500 seat arena.
Yes. Yes.
Now it's about 3,000 seats. It's
Okay.
a good size arena, but you go up to the third floor. But as you're going up the escalator, you're still seeing that original wall, the exterior wall, and then you walk into the arena, and the way they designed it, that arena actually, if the building's here, right, here's the first floor, here's the second floor. On the third floor, it's right here in the center. So that arena still has that same ceiling that I looked up to so many times when I was a kid. And
Wow.
it's you're sitting there and you just walk in and you look around and you think about the amount of stars in everything from hockey to wrestling to politics to everything under the sun, the amount of events that have happened under that roof. And we get to return the Maple Leaf brand of wrestling, Maple Leaf Pro, to the former Maple Leaf Gardens upcoming in May. So that's super exciting, and that's where we'll crown our women's Canadian champion. And it's kind of crazy to think about the entire history of wrestling up here with Maple Leaf. There never was a women's champion. There was a Canadian champion, and you look at
Yeah.
it at Mosca and Iron Sheik back when he was, what was he, Hussein the Arab or whatever his 1970s name was. Hussein Arab, I think it was. Um,
Yes.
you can't even say, I don't even like saying the name now, but there was that championship, but there wasn't one for the women. So I think what we do here this weekend at Mayhem and having the quarterfinals and the semifinals and setting that main event is a huge part of what we're doing this weekend, and we get to showcase the women right alongside with the men. We get to showcase established stars right around with those just breaking in and building up to get their opportunity, and we get a chance to feature Canadians here on a Canadian platform side to side with the very best international stars in the world. And to me, that every one of those things for MLP's mandate, check, check, double check.
What are some matches that fans should really look out for this coming weekend?
I mean, look, I think when you look at it, I think the NWA World's Championship obviously is a huge one. I think that when you see the jet setters, Kushida and Kevin Knight, like Kushida, I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Kushida. Like he moved to Windsor to train here many years ago, so this is like a homecoming every time he comes here, and he's great. But Kevin Knight, I mean, this guy has everything. Like this guy is so athletic, so talented. So they're in there with the Kingdom, which is a tag team that I think doesn't get its due. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven,
Yeah.
they're great. They're as good as any tag team in the world when it comes to tag team wrestling. And I think these two teams are just gonna tear it up. I think that our social media guy hit me up the other night and was like, "Boy, like Coach, this three-way we announced is exploding on Japanese Twitter." And it's Kaito Kiyomiya from Noah against Alex Zane and Ishimori, right? Both from New
Yeah.
Japan. So I mean, look, I think that match is gonna be off the hook. So I think you look at that, you look at the ladies' matches. I think there's so much in this in the mix here. And then you have PCO, he's not human, and he really might not be human. The fact that
Yeah.
he's still going after all these years, and he's in the ring. You talk about mixing experience and youthful exuberance. He's in there with a guy, Michael Allen, Richard Clark. His tagline is the longest name in professional wrestling,
It
and
is
damn it,
long.
he might be right. But he's pretty damn talented. So
Yeah.
I think that Michael Allen getting a chance to get in there with PCO and mix it up is going to be great for his career. And the fact that it's a street fight means it's totally not in his realm of comfort, and it's right up PCO's alley. So anytime you have PCO and a lack of rules, then you're looking for something crazy to happen.
And all right, final question, Scott. Here, the big hard sell. Why should fans watch this coming weekend MLP Mayhem from Windsor, Ontario, live on Triller TV pay per view March 14th and March the 15th?
Look, I think we have a great blend. We have a bit of everything. Jimmy Hart, told me years ago, wrestling, what we do when we do it right, it's like the circus. There's something for everybody. Some people might like the high wire act. Somebody may like the person being shot out of the cannon. Somebody may like the lion tamer or the clown car. And that's what this show has. It has something for everybody. It's got PCO and hardcore wrestling. It's got two big hosses in a world's heavyweight championship match, a classic style world's heavyweight championship match with Latimer and Dyer. With, like you pointed out, a guy in Dyer who's got something to prove. We've got some of the best of the modern style of professional wrestling out there with high flying action, like that three-way we talked about, the tag team match with the Jet Setters in the Kingdom. And we give the ladies the platform that they deserve. For so many years, our business didn't give them their due. And one of the things I'm proud about is for the last, 10 plus years, what is it, 10? Yeah, we're 10 plus for sure. What
Yeah.
was it for the knockouts that women have had an opportunity to have a platform to be treated like athletes. And we've got 8 unbelievable athletes here that deserve to be on this platform. So I'll wrap it up with this. I said this many times in Impact, and I say it here with MLP. We don't take it lightly when people invest in our product. And the investment can be buying a ticket, can be buying a piece of merchandise, can be buying the pay-per-view. We don't take that lightly. And just as valuable, some ways more valuable than their money is their time. When you sit
Yeah.
down and say, I'm going to give a night of my life, or I'm going to give 2 nights of my life to this, that's an investment of the most valuable thing any of us have, our time. So if you do that, I promise you, your return on investment, your ROI, as we say in the business world, is going to be high because we have a great group of professionals in the ring and behind the cameras. They're going to do everything to go out there and kick ass and give you 2 great, unbelievable nights. And at the end of this, if you buy this pay-per-view, if you bought a ticket and showed up and you don't feel you got your money's worth, then hit us up because I'll refund your money.
He told me that last time, and he's sticking to it, and I don't blame him because last time out was a great show, and I'm looking forward to this Friday and Saturday from St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario. You can watch on Triller TV pay-per-view. It's been a little while since we've chatted. This has been great, Scott. Thank you so much for the time. It is always greatly appreciated. I'm looking forward to this weekend. And then we got the big show coming up, Northern Lights. We got that coming up in May from Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Ontario. Thank you so much, Scott. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right, bud.